Hello and welcome to Odds on Bundesliga Matchday 15, last one of 2024. And Ronan Murphy, do we have a Bundesliga title race now?
Maybe. Hopefully we have a bit of Bundesliga title race because for a while it looked like the Bayer Leverkusen of last season had disappeared, but now they're on such a great winning run. Maybe they're back in the mix, and with Bayern Munich losing to Mainz, as they tend to do in Mainz, it's the fourth time in the last 5 games at Mainz they've lost, surprisingly. But yeah, we have a title race on our hands, so hopefully that will keep things spicy over the winter period and into the new year.
And they have a tough game to finish the year. Let's analyze this Bayern RB Leipzig on Friday. So guys, stay with us. Of course, press the like, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. And the best game in these match days on Friday evening, Ronan. Usually we don't expect much about Friday evening games, but now we have Bayern Munich, RB Leipzig, much more interesting after Bayern Munich lost against Mainz, the first defeat of the season in the Bundesliga for Vincent Kompany. So now 4 points ahead of Bayer Leverkusen only. And RB Leipzig got themselves a very important victory against Frankfurt. So it's back-to-back wins in the Bundesliga. Now they are in the Champions League spots. So let's see what happens here. What is your take on this Bayern RB Leipzig?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting match for a Friday evening. Like you said, we usually don't have matches like this, but that's usually because these sort of teams are playing in the Champions League or in the Europa League or the Conference League or whatever the best. Kind of nearly the top half of the Bundesliga is in European action, especially after getting so many teams into the Bundesliga or into the Champions League. So yeah, it seems to be that we're rarely treated to a spectacle like this. This seems like more a Saturday evening match than a Friday evening match, but I'm very excited to watch it this Friday, and particularly because Harry Kane is back in training for Bayern Munich, so there's a chance he might line out in this one. He's worth keeping an eye on. His anytime goal score odds aren't great for this one. They're never that great, but for this one they seem to be lower than sometimes when he'll be playing against the likes of Kiel or Heidenheim for some reason. So it might be wise to look elsewhere for a bit of value. Maybe there could be value in looking at Leipzig to do something in this match, because last week they had Xaver Schlager back in midfield. He made a huge difference. Christoph Baumgartner said that he makes him play like a different player when he's involved. And yeah, David Raum coming off the bench as well for his first game since injury, and he got massive praise in the media this week. Lamine Yamal, your good friend, he said he's the best defender he's ever faced. So yeah, if RB Leipzig are getting back one of the best defenders that you've seen, well, especially at the Euros, I suppose, during the summer, this could be a much more interesting match. And Raum, as we know, he's an assist machine at times. A few seasons ago, he topped the Bundesliga rankings in assists. So this one should be, hopefully, a match that we see plenty of goals in. Last season, we had the full range of results between them. Leipzig won the Super Cup 3-0. Then it was a 2-2 draw in Leipzig. And then it was a 2-1 win in Munich for Bayern. So every single result could possibly happen here. So maybe go against betting on either team and look at the goals market, because RB Leipzig are averaging 1.6 goals this season. Total goals for RB Leipzig over 1.5 could be a good option here, 360. But I like the look of both teams to score in this match, because this does seem like a both teams to score match. Both teams score yes has happened in 4 of Bayern's last 5 matches and 3 of Leipzig's last 5 matches. Both teams to score yes has happened in 39% of first halves for RB Leipzig so far this season. So both teams to score yes is my main tip here at 165. But if you want to try for even bigger, both teams to score yes in the first half is 375. That could be worth looking at.
All right, great game this one. Let's see if we have a title race, if RB Leipzig are able at least to get a point from the Allianz Arena. On Saturday, first game is also good one. Frankfurt Mainz is the first one we are going to analyze, with Frankfurt still in Champions League spots, but lost to Leipzig. The third defeat of the season is 4 consecutive games without a win. And Mainz, as you mentioned before, huge surprise, beating Bayern. They are doing a great season, close to the European spots, 4 wins in the last 5 Bundesliga games.
Yeah, it'd be crazy to kind of underestimate Mainz under this one, especially given Frankfurt's recent form. But I suppose Frankfurt's home form has been very good. They haven't lost a home game this season in either the Bundesliga or the Europa League, whereas Mainz, I suppose they've been good on the road. They've scored 3 goals in both of their last 2 away games, a 3-0 win over Kiel, and then that 3-4 defeat against Wolfsburg, which was a bit of a thriller. And this match should kind of live up to that same hype. It's 3rd versus 7th in the Bundesliga. Mainz, they're hoping to have Danny da Costa fit again, and he can provide a sort of a attacking impetus, the way I mentioned for Raum with RB Leipzig, so he can help them get among the goals. And there usually tends to be goals in this one. The most common result is 1-1, so both teams tend to score. It was 1-1 in Mainz last season as well, so both teams to score yes is another one to look at here. Both teams to score yes is probably good for most matches this week. Actually, it's 70% of the time it's happened for Frankfurt this season, 56% of the time for Mainz. So both teams to score yes is 165. Correct score 1-1. If you're going to go with that again this season is an 8. I have a look at that one. I think Mainz do have a good chance of taking something from this, so that's why I'm going for Mainz double chance, which is exactly 2 at the moment, which I think is pretty good.
Okay, we don't go for Marmoush to score anymore.
Well, I think that Kane is back. You have to look that Kane is going to score, and Marmoush maybe not scoring as many this season, but they are kind of neck and neck at the moment. So that top score race is really interesting. But yeah, you can't depend on them to score every single week. But so far, so good. We've been proven right a good few times so far this season, and even in Europe. So yeah, if you want to have a look at Marmoush to score, he's usually 170-ish anytime goal scorer. It's usually worked a punt too, but I don't think this is going to be a hugely high scoring match. So yeah, both teams will score, and then maybe 1-1, 2-1. So I can go for Mainz double chance. I think that's where the value is.
Well, Frankfurt were overperforming, in my opinion, also in this first half of the season. So we should expect them to go slightly down. Next game, Kiel, Augsburg. This is a tricky one because Augsburg are favorites because Kiel is so bad. 5 consecutive defeats, only 5 points. Again, it's impossible to back them, but Augsburg, Ronan, they haven't won away. It's only 2 points away from home. Perhaps it's the time to win away from home when you are visiting Kiel.
Yeah, I hope so. They're 17th in the away table at the moment. 2 draws, 4 defeats, and just 4 goals scored in the 6 away Bundesliga matches they've played this season. So Augsburg have not been good on the road. But all 4 of their wins have come at home, but now they're playing Kiel, who are terrible at the moment. They've had 5 defeats in a row since that 1-0 defeat or 1-0 win they had over Heidenheim. They're 17th overall. They're 17th at home in the home table. So yeah, this is 17th at home versus 17th away is this match. So yeah, like we say, sometimes the both teams to lose game. This one looks like it. Yeah, the only win at home was the win over Heidenheim that I mentioned. The other 6 games were all defeats at home, so they've not been good in front of their own fans. These teams haven't played recently. The last time they played each other was back in 2019, so we have nothing to read into from there. Augsburg's captain is suspended. 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝐿, he's suspended after picking up 5 yellow cards, so that will be a boost for Kiel. But I think Augsburg still have enough to kind of maybe do something here. Goal scored here is 1 versus 1.1. So these are not teams who score lots of goals. This one mightn't be both teams to score, yes. So I'm steering away from that one in this match. Total goals under 2.5 could be an option, 194, given that the average between them combined is 2.1 goals per game. So yeah, I don't think this is going to be a hugely thrilling match, but I think because of that, Augsburg can keep it close and maybe pick up something. So Augsburg Asian handicap -1/4. I like the value in here. I think, like you said, it could be their first win on the road, but I'm not going to guarantee it. So we play it a bit safer and go for Asian handicap -1/4. That's 2.06.
Next game is Stuttgart, St. Pauli, big favorites. Stuttgart now closer to the Champions League spots, only 4 points away, 4 consecutive wins in all competitions. So ending the year on a hype, whereas St. Pauli is only 1 point above the bottom 3 after the defeat against Werder Bremen. Is 4 defeats in the last 5 games, only beating Kiel. So this should be a Stuttgart win, I guess.
It should be. I think everything is pointing in this match to Stuttgart. Like you said, 4 wins in all competitions. So Stuttgart are on a great run at the moment, and St. Pauli are on back-to-back defeats, 2-1 against Leverkusen, 2-0 at home to Bremen. So Stuttgart win on its own looks pretty good at 155. But then you have to look to see is their value perhaps elsewhere. Stuttgart have scored in both halves in 48% of their games. So that could be something to look at. Nearly half their games they've played so far in the Bundesliga, and they're They're playing St. Pauli, one of the worst teams in the Bundesliga. So yeah, Stuttgart to score in both halves, 2.25 could be an option here. But if you want to go even bigger than that, I've had a look, and Stuttgart have won the second half of 3 of their 4 wins in a row. So Stuttgart to win both halves is 4.20, and Stuttgart to win the second half only is exactly 2. So that's my main tip, is Stuttgart to win the second half. But you could also have a look at Stuttgart to win both halves, because you wouldn't rule it out with the amount of goals they're scoring at the moment.
Better odds in the next one, also more difficult to predict, of course, is Hoffenheim Gladbach. Hoffenheim surprised us with a draw against Dortmund in the very last minute. It's only 1 win in the last 10 games, in case you are tempted to back them. And Gladbach, in great form, escaping from the bottom half of the table. And even if they win, they will get closer to the European spots. And they are the underdog for this game.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a look at Gladbach in this one, if you think they can do something, because they have been scoring plenty of goals recently. They have 2 goal scorers kind of in the top 20, I suppose, top 15. Alassane Plea, he scored his 4th and 5th goal this season last week against Kiel. They won 4-1, but Tim Kleindienst is just outside the top 3. He scored as well, so I think he's having a fantastic season since he's joined Gladbach. He's obviously done brilliantly after making his debut for Germany. He looks a player that could be a long-term kind of solution up front for Germany, because they're always looking for someone to score the goals and be reliant on to score the goals. So I think he could be someone who scores a goal here. So Tim Kleindienst anytime goal score, 2.77. I haven't gone for Omar Marmoush or Harry Kane, but I have gone for Tim Kleindienst as the anytime goal scorer this week. If you look at the last few meetings between the sides, it was 2-1 to Gladbach and 4-3 to Hoffenheim last season in the two with 2 home wins. But they've had both teams to score yes in each of the last 9 times they've played each other. So that is one that we will go back to the both teams to score yes well and get some water from that one again for this match. The both teams score yes is 1.55. It's happened 61% of the time for Hoffenheim this season, 69% of the time for Gladbach. So I think there will be another match with plenty of goals, both teams getting on the score sheet. Total goals over 2.5 has happened more than half the time this season for both teams. So I'm going to go kind of similar to that and look at total goals over 3 in this one, 188. So make sure wherever you bet that if it is exactly 3, you get your money back.
Well, next one is Werder Bremen Union Berlin. You predicted the worst game of the year, of the season, of the history, Union Berlin Bochum. I don't know if it was that bad, but we saw a draw and it was a surprise. Union Berlin getting worse. They couldn't even beat Bochum, and they were playing against 10 men, Union Berlin. So it's no wins in the last 7, getting closer to the relegation spots. And Werder Bremen in great form, and we have great odds to back Werder Bremen, actually.
Yeah, Union Berlin, they played against 10 men for 77 minutes and still couldn't win. So yeah, it was one of those ones. And I obviously when we speak about Bochum later, about what happened at the end. But yeah, it was a match that will live long in the memory for the wrong reasons. And we kind of expected that beforehand, but maybe not the exact wrong reason that happened. But yeah, Union Berlin, they have 𝐿𝐵𝗏𝗏, their defender. He's suspended for this match. He'll be a big loss for them. And for the Bremen, I would have confidence in them getting something here. Both games were home wins last season. It was 2-0 in this one, and it would be no surprise if that happened again, because if you look at the last 8 times they've played, a quarter of them have been wins to 0. So yeah, so this is a match that wins to 0 could be a good one to look at. Bremen have won their last 3 games all to 0. Darmstadt in the Cup, Bochum and St. Pauli in the league. So Bremen to win to 0 is 380 here. So if you fancy Bremen to win, like you said, I do fancy them to win, and the odds on them to win are 217, which is pretty good. Only 31% of Union Berlin's games have had over 2.5 goals this season. So total goals under 2.5 is an option for this one, as is every game that Union Berlin play. Bet on the under. So total goals under 2.5 is 187. But if I'm not going to go exactly and say it's a definite Bremen win at 217, I like a Bremen draw no bet. That's 157.
You are not convincing me to watch Union Berlin games, I must say.
Yeah, this is anti-football at its finest. This is what they played a couple of years ago before they got into Champions League. Then they got into Champions League. They thought, we'll try something different. It didn't work. So they've gone back to the drawing board, gone back to what worked for them before. And I suppose it's working a bit. It's working the Union Berlin way. Yeah.
Stay in the Bundesliga at least. Well, more goals are expected in the Leverkusen Freiburg. This is a great game, second against the fifth. Now Leverkusen in the best moment of the season, closer to Bayern Munich, 7 consecutive wins in all competitions, improving the defense, not conceding against Inter, against Augsburg. And Freiburg also in a great moment, 7 points in the last 9. It was a great win against Wolfsburg.
It was, yeah. I think Freiburg are probably underestimated a little in this match if you look at the bookies odds, and that's probably because Leverkusen are on such a good run of them themselves, but many of those wins have been away wins, and they've actually gone the whole year unbeaten away. They didn't lose away any time this year in the Bundesliga. 17 games they've gone unbeaten away. Only Bayern Munich had done it before back in the 1980s and back in Pep Guardiola era, obviously, of who else. And Bayer Leverkusen could be boosted this week if Victor Boniface comes back for this game. Xabi Alonso hinted last week that he wasn't available for last weekend's game, but he could be available for this one. So I like the look of him as the last goal scorer. He could come off the bench to mark his return to the Bundesliga just before Christmas. So Victor Boniface, last goal scorer, is 470. So that could be an option. Anytime, if you want to play it a bit safer, if you have a look at the lineup and he actually starts, then it's more likely that he mightn't play the full 90 minutes. That's 210. So yeah, it's worth having a look at the lineup. And if he is fit enough, and if word has come out from Xabi Alonso that he will feature, but he is only on the bench to start, last goal scorer could be a very interesting one for Boniface against Freiburg, because he will be determined to come back and show what Bayer Leverkusen have been missing, because in the meantime, Patrick Schick has filled in pretty well while he was out. So Victor Boniface will want to show that he should be trusted as the main man every match by Xabi Alonso, and show that he is one of the best strikers in the Bundesliga and in Europe. So yeah, if you look at Freiburg, their big scorer last week was Lukas Kugler. He scored 2 against Stuttgart and 2 against Wolfsburg. He scored 4 goals this season. Both times they were braces. So yeah, don't expect him to do it again. He's a right back who only scored once last season. So he has been getting into better places from set pieces, but don't be fooled by the fact he scored 2 last week. Do not look at him as an anytime goal scorer in any match at all. So yeah, this one I think it'll be a pretty close match. If you look at the matches last season, they were pretty close as well, as Leverkusen were winning the title. It was 2-1 at home and 3-2 away. Leverkusen have won their last 7 games in all competitions, like you said, but they haven't scored over 2 goals in any of those last 5 wins that they've played. And Freiburg have been keeping things kind of close. They're 5th in the table, but they've got 20 goals for and 19 against. So their games tend to be pretty close affairs. The most common result is 1-1, and the most common result in Leverkusen is 1-1. So that's why I like the fact that the bookmakers are maybe underestimating Freiburg a little. So I'm going to go as my main tip, Freiburg Asian handicap plus 1.5. That's 2. So even if they lose by 1, you're quizzing.
Great game again, this Leverkusen Freiburg. On Sunday we have 2 games. This one is not as good as the previous one. Bochum, Heidenheim. Still no wins for Bochum, although, as we said, they grabbed a surprising draw in Berlin, and Heidenheim losing and losing, dropping and dropping. 7 consecutive defeats in all competition in the Bundesliga. Is 8 defeats and 1 draw in the last 9 games.
Yeah, it's not a good period at the moment for Heidenheim. They've conceded 3 or more in each of their last 4 games, which have all been defeats. Like I said, they're on 7 defeats in a row. So this is the perfect time for Bochum to be facing Heidenheim, or facing anybody really, because Heidenheim are on a terrible run, even worse than Bochum's own. And Bochum, like I said, they picked up a point in that game last week, but they did have Koji Miyashi sent off early on in that match after 13 minutes, and he's going to be missing for the next 2 games. So he'll start the year on watching from the stands as well as this match at the weekend. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Bochum's goalkeeper, Patrick Schick, who was in goal for that match against Union Berlin, who was hit with a cigarette lighter in stoppage time at the end of that match, and he had to be taken off, and the players there was a big delay. The players spoke to the referee, and the Bochum weren't sure whether they wanted to play on because they didn't have any substitutions left. So forward Philipp Hoffmann had to play in goal for the last few minutes, and then both teams kind of just agreed to pass it around like one of these Italian 90 games where both teams needed a win to qualify from the group, and they'll just pass it around for the last 20 minutes. It's just kind of a nonsense ending to the match. But after it, earlier this week, Bochum have lodged an official complaint with the German Football League to have the match result overturned. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. It seems unlikely because of when it happened. It was kind of the 90th minute that the match result will be overturned, so it'll probably stay 1-1. But if not, Bochum could get that win they've been looking for, just because the goalkeeper was injured by something that one of the fans from the Union Berlin section threw. So yeah, it's be worth keeping an eye on that one. But for the moment, they'll be looking to pick up points here because they proved they could against Union Berlin last week, and they've proven they can do it against Heidenheim in the past. Both games last season were draws, 0-0 in Heidenheim and 1-1 in Bochum. And Bochum's last 5 games have all had 2 total goals or less, so it should be a pretty tight match. So I like the look of Bochum double chance at 144. That gives them a little bit of a chance. I like the look of no goals scored in this one again, really. Total goals under 2.75, 196, because like you said, Heidenheim are just losing every match that comes up on the calendar. Bochum have only scored twice in 4 games all season. None in the last 5. None of the last 5 games have they scored 2 or more goals. So my main bet for this one is the most negative bet I'll ever make. Bochum under 1.5 goals, 180.
Both teams to lose. It's the classic one for this game. Oh my God, what a game this Bochum. Heidenheim, with both teams really looking bad, But next game and last one in this match day in this 2024 in Germany is Wolfsburg Dortmund. I don't know what is the atmosphere in Dortmund because the team is not working with Nuri Sahin. Right now they are 8th in the standings, 4 defeats already in the Bundesliga. They even lost at home in the Champions League against Barcelona. In the Bundesliga is 3 consecutive draws, still no wins away from home. And it's not going to be easy to go to Wolfsburg. They lost to Freiburg after 5 consecutive wins in all competitions. I guess it's difficult to go for 1x2, but we should expect goals.
Yeah, that's the hope here. Wolfsburg, they kind of only turned up in the last few minutes last week. They were excellent in the last half an hour, but they were poor in the first 60 minutes. So if they had have started playing that well earlier, they probably would have picked up something in that match last weekend. It was a cracking match on Friday, and it was an incredible overhead kick. Matthias Sandberg scored a bicycle kick in that game against Freiburg, and if you haven't seen it yet, I would dig it out and look it up because it was just a fantastic goal. Unfortunately, it was a goal for the losing side. Yeah, they'd be hoping to pick up some points here. And like you said, Borussia Dortmund are kind of allowing points to slip. And Nuri Sahin, I think he's feeling a bit more pressure than he was before. We've spoken about it before on the show that the board has come out and backed him. But if results keep going like this, it's hard to see what will happen in the new year. But so far, they seem happy with what he's doing. And he's obviously a club legend. And I think that gives you a little bit more rope when you're under pressure as a manager. After the 1-1 draw with Hoffenheim, he said he was angry and disappointed. He called the performance very weak against Hoffenheim. So hopefully he's going to get something different out of the team this week. Karim Adeyemi came on at half-time in that match, so he should be able to start, and that will give them a different option in attack, because Maxi Bayer has been used on the wing in recent matches because of injuries to the forward line, and Bayer is more a centre forward, and you see he's good at picking up the space and finding gaps, and he's good in the press and kind of winning the ball back, but he's more naturally suited to playing through the middle. And if they have Adeyemi back on the wing, that should give them a different dynamic with maybe Giddens on the other side and 𝗵𝗵𝗄 up front. That should give their attack a bit more potency and maybe help them score a few more goals. And that's what we're kind of hoping from this particular match. Wolfsburg has scored 2 or more goals in their last 4 games. They've scored 5 against Leipzig. They scored 3 against Hoffenheim in the Cup. Scored 4 against Mainz in the league, as well as 2 goals I mentioned in the 3-2 defeat to Freiburg last week. And Dortmund are on a run of conceding plenty of goals. They've conceded goals in their last 4 games. And remember, earlier in the season, they were winning some matches to 0 at home, but that's kind of seemed to have dried up. So, yeah, goals scored in this one, it's 2.2 versus 1.8. So these are two teams that like scoring goals. Goals conceded, similar enough, 1.8 versus 1.5. So, yeah, this one, if you even have a look at it, over 4.5 total goals has happened a third of the time for both teams so far this season. So these are teams that like playing big matches. So, yeah, both teams to score, yes. Again, another excellent option, 155. But total goals over 3 is 195 for this one. That's what I go for.
Okay, is Sahin in risk or still full trust?
I think we have to wait and see what happens to Sahin kind of in January. See, the Champions League seems to be going okay for him. The home performances are excellent. So he'll be given at least January, February to probably even up to the next international break to work things out, because they are 8 in the table, but they're not that far adrift of the top 4. So as long as they're kind of knocking on the top 4 and have a good chance of finishing, I don't think Dortmund are going to pull the trigger too soon, because they've given him a lot of trust. And you've seen it in the past with 𝐸𝐵𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, that they probably hold on to coaches a bit longer than perhaps other teams would because of that club association. Like I mentioned, he is a legend around the club, so they do like him there. Whereas if it was maybe a rent-a coach that they had brought in from somewhere else, they might be more quickly to pull the trigger. So I give them to March, the international break, and see what happens by then.
All right. Well, guys, remember, of course, that you can post your own tips on Oddspedia. It's completely for free. And even you can participate in our tipster competitions and win some cash prizes, and also create your own competition in Rivals with your friends. Ronan, the last safe bet of the year?
My last safe bet of the year, I'm going for Stuttgart again this week. Like last week, it worked out pretty well. So Stuttgart, Asian handicap, -0.5, 152.
And the ACCA?
My ACCA is total goals over 2.5 in Bayern Leipzig, Stuttgart, St. Pauli, and Wolfsburg, Dortmund. That's for a total of 3.88.
We love the Bundesliga because we see plenty of goals and the stadiums are packed, of course. Well, Ronan, thank you. See you next year, hopefully. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Happy Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody.
Exactly.